Hello, and thanks for joining me. My name is Dana Mohan. I'm a fellow allergy sufferer, the co-owner, educator, and certified life and health coach for Allergy Navigator. In this video, I'm going to teach you one of the most important pieces of knowledge an allergy sufferer must know to keep themselves safe. I'm going to teach you how to read an ingredient list. It seems so simple, but knowing how to read an ingredient list is probably the most important daily tool one living with food allergies can have in their toolbox. Food labels are our first line of defense as allergy sufferers because it is imperative that we know everything that is in our foods, supplements, medications, skincare, household products from candles to soap, from toothpaste to detergents. If we come in contact with it in any way, we need to know what's in it. I will start with showing you exactly what you need to look for when you pick up any prepackaged item, and then I'm going to let you know what some of those phrases you will see on the label actually mean. And finally, at the end, I will point out some very important things to help keep you safe. Okay, don't forget to tap that little bell to your right to subscribe. You don't want to miss any information we're putting out for you guys. Okay, let's dive in. So, there are so many options at the grocery store, and picking up every package is out of the question. So I first start by narrowing down my options. I begin by quickly scanning the aisles for labels that say gluten-free. Since I'm unable to eat gluten and can only eat grains on a rotating basis, and I will explain rotating in another video, I narrow my options down to anything that says gluten-free. If I can find items that are actually grain-free, then score, I'll start there first. Many food stores are starting to catch on and have these items in specific locations in the store, or will have like items grouped together on their own part of the shelf. In my store, these items are in the health food section. The very first thing I do when I pick up a prepackaged item is turn straight to the back and look at the ingredient list. Now, your ideal ingredient list is going to have very few ingredients. I try to keep it below 10 ingredients, and I want to know what all of them are and where they are derived from. For example, ascorbic acid is just vitamin C. Too many ingredients and you start getting into chemicals and preservatives, and those can wreak havoc on those of us who are already very sensitive to foods. And here's a big one. When looking at supplements or medications, there isn't an ingredient list per se, but there is a label that breaks things down. Look at the active ingredients. Yes, but don't stop there. Look at the inactive ingredients. This is where you'll find all those fillers and preservatives. These lists are usually right below the supplements or medications active ingredient label. A time-saving tip for you: before reading through the ingredient list, I take a look at the may contain or processed in on food packages and the inactive ingredient lists on medications and supplements. If any of my allergens are listed in any of those areas, I'm out on those products. I don't even bother reading the rest of the ingredients. Here's an important note about prescriptions, okay? When they come from the pharmacy, the inactive ingredients are not listed on the bottle. So you will need to read the pamphlet that usually accompanies the prescription. If it is still not listed, this is where you will need to go to the website, the drug in question, and search for their ingredient list and look specifically for the inactive ingredients. I have never not found one, so you should be okay. Keep in mind, if it is a generic formulation, meaning not from the brand name company, The formulation will be different. If you need additional help, you can also ask your pharmacist to help you. They don't mind usually. Just give them a call right after your doctor has sent in the prescription and before you have the medication filled, and have them do a quick lookup. It is part of what they are supposed to do, so they usually don't mind at all. Another tip, I will even look up the prescription the doctor wants to give me while we are together at my appointment. This way, if the one that he or she wants to give me is not one I can have, then we are able to work together to find an equivalent alternative. When all else fails, I have my medication and supplements compounded. This means they are made especially for me without all the fillers and preservatives. You can Google medication compounding near me or compound pharmacy near me to find one near you. Now here's a tip. Do not order or have any medications or supplements filled without checking first. Nothing is more frustrating than having to spend a bunch of money on something you can't take and you can't return. So trust me, I have learned the hard way. Okay, moving on. You know how to read the ingredient label now. Now let's talk about some important information you need to understand about these lists so you can make the most informed decisions. 3 steps the food manufacturers are trying to make so that their products are safe as possible for those of us that have allergies. 1, not allowing potential allergens to be used in the products. 2, list the allergens in the ingredients lists, or 3, use phrases like may contain or processed in to let consumers know of a potential risk. Those of us with food allergies rely on these steps to be extremely accurate. According to Food Without Fear, nearly all major food manufacturers that supply the American market, 92%, produced food products containing 1 or more of the 9 allergic food allergies recognized by the FDA. So inaccurate labeling could be deadly. Here's another tip to remember. The bummer is, just because one item is safe for you from a company, that doesn't mean another item from the same company will be safe for you. An example might be Lay's potato chips. Let's say you pick up barbecue and sour cream and onion. The ingredient list on each of these bags will be different, simply because the flavor has changed. So yes, you will have to look at every label for everything you want to purchase. If a scent, flavor, or even a size changes, check the label. Luckily, the FDA created good manufacturing practices. These are requirements for the manufacturing of foods that are processed. These includes things like following materials through the supply chain and knowing how materials are handled and labeling them on the final product. Also, labels are required to have the food name of any ingredients that are identified as the 9 major food allergens. And this would be milk, eggs, tree nuts, finfish, shellfish, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, and sesame. And sesame was just added as a major allergen on labels this year. However, oils are not required to be listed as they are usually safe for people with an allergy to soy. If it is included at the discretion of the company providing the food or product. Here's an important note about that. Not all shellfish are required to be on the label. So these examples would be oysters, clams, mussels, or scallops. All allergens must be clearly named on the label. It must either be indicated in the name of the ingredient, like buttermilk, or to be in parentheses following the word. For example, flour would have a parentheses of wheat. Something else to be keenly aware of, These requirements do not extend to potential or unintentional presence of a major food allergen. An example would be cross-contact. An example of cross-contact might be French fries that are gluten-free, but when they are fried in a non-gluten-free fryer in the restaurant, they are no longer gluten-free. Although these fries were labeled gluten-free when leaving the manufacturer, they are no longer gluten-free after being fried in the fryer that was used to fry other gluten-containing foods in the restaurant. Do you see how that would work? When may contain comes into play, it must be a truthful and not a misleading statement as to the manufacturing of the product. Another phrase you might see is produced in a facility that. These phrases are not substitutes for the good manufacturing practice that are required by the FDA. So if you are in doubt, don't. So I use the phrase crossed contact. Once the production of the packaged food is complete, the manufacturer is not held responsible for any sort of mishandling or cross-contact from shared equipment that may result. So it may not even be listed on the label if it does come in contact with any other allergen outside of the initial manufacturing process. To help with this issue, there are labels known as PALS, P-A-L-S. What is PALS? Well, it stands for Precautionary Allergen Labeling. It's voluntary and unregulated. These are items that may have cross-contact contamination throughout the processing, but they cannot be sure, so there's a precautionary label added to it. As for you, if you're in doubt, don't. Although the label is marked as may contain or etc., the wording is not standardized, and the amount of the allergen or likelihood of a possible threshold amount of an allergen is not indicated. What is a threshold? Well, think of it as a bucket that fills each time you are exposed to an allergen. The amount of an allergen I can have before my bucket overflows and I have a reaction may be different from the amount of an allergen that you can have before you have a reaction. Okay, phew. So that was a lot. Here's a quick breakdown. If it says may contain traces, just assume it does. If it says processed in a facility, assume it has it in it. If it says may have contact with equipment, assume it has. If it says may not be suitable for, assume it's not. I know you're feeling like you will never be able to eat anything yummy again. But wait, there is good news. Yes, researchers, regulators, and legislation are all beginning to come around to the real threat food allergies create for the 32 million Americans living with its invisible, potentially deadly disability. And many steps are being taken to make the food world safer for all of us. So be patient. The world will catch up with us. It may just take a little time. Now, here's a fantastic opportunity to be part of our community. Answer the question of the day in the comments and share any thoughts or information or ideas that you might have. Okay, so here's the question of the day. Did you have any ahas from this video? Please share. Also, if you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe by tapping the little bell. And if you also know someone who could benefit from our videos, be sure to share them. This potentially could be life-changing information.